My Grandma Betty, bless her soul, was one for stories. And this one was a doozy. I gotta tell you, growing up in Jersey, I always spent summers at her place. Smelled of mothballs, stale coffee, and secrets, that house. She'd sit me down on the porch swing, crack open a lukewarm can of Dr. Pepper, and unleash. This one still gives me the willies. Now Mikey, she'd say, her voice raspy like a rusty hinge, you know your Grandpa Joe, may he rest in peace, was chomping at the bit for you to get here. He wanted a grandson, something fierce. Your mama, bless her heart, was carrying you big as a house, and Joe was fading fast. Cancer, nasty stuff. Doc gave him maybe a few months tops. She paused, took a long swig of her Dr. Pepper, and squinted at the passing cars like she was inspecting their souls. Your mama, she got put on bed rest in the hospital. Last month of pregnancy. They were worried about preeclampsia or somethin. Guess what? Her ward was right next to the building where your Grandpa Joe was rotting away. Convenient, ho. You think the universe has a sixth sense of humor. I just shrugged. I was maybe 10, itching to get back to my comic books. But Grandma Betty had me in her spider web of words, and there was no escape. She used to sneak over to see him all the time. Security. Non-existent. This was the 70s, Mikey. People left their doors unlocked. She chuckled, a dry rattling sound. Anyway, one day, she's visiting, and Joe's looking like death warmed over. Skin all paper, thin and yellow. Your mama, bless her heart, she was a crier. Always been a crier. So she starts blubbering, and Joe, he reaches out, takes her hand, and says, "Honey, I feel like I'm checking out soon." A Grandma Betty took another swig, the bubbles gurgling like a swamp. Your mama, naturally, starts bawling even harder. Telling him he's gonna live forever, they'll go to Florida, buy a canoe with a Lenny, the whole 9 yards. And Joe, he just smiles real weak. He says, "I'm gonna go, but I'll always be with you. You'll figure it out." A real cryptic, right? Like he's auditioning for a bad B movie. She leaned in close, her breath smelling of peppermint and impending doom. Well, a week later, Joe kicks the bucket. Gone. And guess what? 2 hours after your Grandpa Joe croaks, your mama goes into labor. Pop, you were born like clockwork. And you, she pointed a bony finger at me, you came out looking like a miniature, slightly less wrinkly version of your Grandpa Joe. His eyes, his nose, even his lips were shaped the same. Spooky, huh? I shifted uncomfortably. So, she gets out of the hospital, bringing home what looked like a resurrected Grandpa Joe, and that night she has a dream. Plain as day, she says. Joe's standing there, in his old fishing hat, looking younger than she'd seen him in years. He just smiled at her and said, "I'm with you now, baby. Forever." Then he winked. Freakin' winked. Scared her half to death. Grandma Betty cackled, a sound that could curdle milk. "That's why, Mikey, everyone always said you looked just like Joe. That's why your mama always called you Little Joe when you were being a pain in the ass. Because maybe, just maybe, you were Joe. Reincarnated, possessed, who the hell knows? I ain't no priest." I felt a shiver crawl down my spine. I had always felt a weird connection to Grandpa Joe, even though I never met him. I'd always been drawn to his old fishing gear, his worn-out tools, his terrible puns. And the weirdest thing, Grandma Betty continued, oblivious to my growing discomfort, was that you hated hospitals. Just the smell of them would send you into a screaming fit. Like you remembered something unpleasant. "Grandma," I said weakly, "are you serious?" "Serious as a heart attack, Mikey. And I'll tell you something else. You always had a knack for fishing, just like Joe. Could reel in a marlin before you could tie your own shoes. And you were a terrible gambler. Just like Joe. Lost your shirt more times than I can count. She shook her head. That Joe, even in death, was a cheapskate. I stood up suddenly, feeling dizzy. Okay, Grandma, I think I need some air. Sure, Mikey. But just remember, she called after me as I stumbled down the porch steps, next time you're feeling lucky at the casino or hauling in a big one, think of Grandpa Joe. He's probably right there with you, whispering bad advice in your ear. And if you ever start craving prune juice, call a priest. That's a sign you're going full Jew. The rest of the summer was a blur of paranoia and prune juice avoidance. I found myself staring at my reflection in the mirror, scrutinizing my nose, my eyes, my lips. Was I just a vessel for a grumpy, gambling, addicted, prune-loving ghost? The thought was enough to make me swear off fishing forever. Of course I didn't. I still loved fishing. And I still lost money at poker nights. But every time I did, I couldn't help but wonder if Grandpa Joe was somewhere, laughing his ass off, enjoying the ride. Years later, after Grandma Betty passed, I found a box of old photos in the attic. There was one of Grandpa Joe holding a freshly caught fish, wearing that same goofy grin I saw in the mirror every morning. On the back, in Grandma Betty's shaky handwriting, it said, "He always knew." Always. I still don't know what to believe. But sometimes, when I'm casting a line, I swear I can hear a faint voice in the wind telling me to bet it all on black. And I know with a chilling certainty that Grandpa Joe is still with me. And honestly, it's kind of a pain in the ass. He always picks the worst restaurants. And his gambling debts are starting to pile up. Some things never change, I guess, even in the afterlife. Especially when you're stuck with them forever.